How's it going? My tripod today is a beautiful dead saguaro skeleton. Isn't it kind of crazy how cactuses produce wood? It's kind of odd. Today I just want to talk to you about navigating growth, because it can often be disorienting because we're becoming somebody new, and that person doesn't make the same decisions as the old version of ourselves. And before I get deep into it, I want to take a moment to preface this with the idea of escapism. See, as a younger man, I romanticized movies like Into the Wild, where Chris McCandless abandons his car, burns all of his money, and goes off into the wilderness to live off of the land. You know, this idea about escaping society, because, as young people, at least this was my experience, I never liked the way the world was. I grew up thinking that it was kind of easy, or everything was just handed to you. You could be good looking or maybe just smart, and the world was going to fall into your lap. And that's just not what happened. It was a huge wake up call, realizing that I had to work harder than I thought. And it's not to say I was raised by lazy people or anything like that. I was always responsible. I was always a hard worker, but by playing by the rules didn't necessarily get me the things that I thought I was going to have. And so we escape, right? We want to rebel against the system. And, I think a lot of the reason I didn't like the system is because I didn't know a lot about it. But then as I grew, I started to figure it out. I started to figure out that there was rules to play by, and there was a system, and there was hierarchy, and there was charm, and you can turn it on, and you can be on, and you can have charisma and kind of manipulate the world. And then I found this new layer of awareness where I see the game, I saw the game, and I still didn't like it. I still wanted to escape. And now, as I've gone through what I think is my third awakening, my third rising of consciousness, I'm starting to see that there's nowhere to go. And I think this might happen to a lot of people who are going through an ascension process, a becoming of their higher selves. And I hear a lot of people say that this phase is very isolating because they feel like awareness is a curse. Like they can't fit into society or groups or with people anymore because they just see everything so clearly. And I feel like, me personally, the way I'm seeing it and the journey that I'm going through, I feel like that is a trap. Because isolation cannot be good. It may feel comfortable and you may feel more at peace because nobody is entering your field, but that doesn't impact you, and that doesn't help you grow more. That just leaves you in another comfort zone. And so I think what the hard thing to do, the real thing to do, is to reincorporate yourself into this world, but with your new self, and learn how that person acts and how that person behaves and how that person makes decisions and sets up clean and clear boundaries with other people, without trying to appease everybody, without trying to manage other people's emotions or expectations of you and how your old self would have came into a situation. And that's what I'm starting to realize, because as I'm growing, I'm also learning that we kind of use this language that it's like this mystical language, right? That makes everything feel like like it comes from a different realm, or that, there's this other dimension that we play around in, and we come back to the physical reality. But what I'm starting to realize, and another example of this actually is, like yesterday, I was given about 5 or 6 even opportunities to set up a clean and clear boundary. And I got a lot of growth out of yesterday, I gotta say, and that's why I'm shooting this video today, because it made me see something very clearly. That my old self, in the situation that I was put in yesterday, where I would have had to deal with all of these 5 or 6 different scenarios, my old self would have either got triggered by one of them, would have maybe lashed out or got aggressive in one of them, would have ruminated on another one, would have collapsed emotionally, would have maybe gave in and gave myself and lost myself to this other situation. And then I found myself in this liminal space where instead of engaging negatively with these situations, I actually just pulled away from them. I remained neutral. I did not respond. And this is where the idea of isolation came up, because I was like, you know what? Instead of dealing with the problem, I have upgraded a little bit, because I'm now just remaining neutral. I'm not taking all of that negativity on like I would, and I'm not losing myself, but I'm also not addressing the issue, which is I'm being called to say my truth, how I want to show up in this world, how I want to set clean and clear boundaries with people, because you can't just sit back and expect the world to form around your new being. It still thinks you're the old person. All of the people around you still think you're the old person. So the way that you construct the new reality is through words and through actions. But they have to be impeccable words and impeccable actions, actions with mastery. We have to embody this new self. And so I caught this pattern that was happening throughout the day, and I realized that I wasn't approaching them. And I realized that it's not too late to still set the boundary. So I did. And I didn't have to be aggressive. I didn't have to be hurtful to the other person. I just had to state plainly what I wanted from this moment and what I wasn't going to do. And so I addressed a few of the situations. I realized one was actually just I was bracing for something that didn't actually happen. So that was just it just was gone. One of them, I subtly gave some pretty clear boundary and clear reasons why I wasn't going to be participating. And then the other two were pretty straightforward. And I realized that in that moment that I had changed. I had navigated these situations in a way that I used to, like I say, collapse or isolate from. No, I'm here in the world and I'm present and I'm telling you what I want and what I don't want. And it's not until then that people read that new energy that they start to reformulate their presence around you. You know what I mean? And it's like, we can't isolate. And to go into this isolation a little bit further, like, we can't isolate and we can't see ourselves as above people. We're not above anybody. You know, it's back to the language thing, this mystical language, this otherworldly language. We're ascending, right? We're having this grand rising. We're having this higher consciousness. And sometimes it makes us feel as we're above everybody and they're still down there below us mucking around in the mud. And that's just simply not true. We are right here. We are still amongst the world. And what we're actually realizing is that our nervous system, in a very practical way, our nervous system is telling us that it is seeing these patterns that it no longer resonates with. You know, we're not ascending. Our field, our energetic field is getting wider and more dense. and our regulating our nervous system, it doesn't want to shrink. It doesn't want to not be seen either. It just doesn't want to lose its own density and its own energy by, you know, collapsing into somebody else's field. We just have to stay centered and stay in our field and let people know what we want. We need to speak the truth. And so this is the real breakthrough that I had. Maybe it's not that profound for some, but for me, this is just new territory. I feel like I'm hacking away through a dense jungle with a machete, and I have, you know, this opening, this clearing coming out, and it's like, yo, I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but like, this is what I see, you know what I mean? And so I think it's very imperative that we don't isolate. I understand that we're all going through our own processes and our own, you know, our own path. And maybe you need to isolate a little bit, and then sometimes it is necessary, but I feel like the way through, as the book by Ryan Holiday states, the obstacle is the way, and we need to learn how to move through these obstacles with grace and with clarity and with confidence in our new highest self. And we don't have to untether ourselves from people. We don't have to be pulled into their worlds by their gravity anymore. We can be our own higher selves without looking down on people. We can still love them, show them respect, but allow ourselves the space that is needed so that we can keep moving forward and keep on path with our goals. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, if you ever want to talk with me one-on-one, I do have a link in my bio. And I wish you the best on this new upcoming year. 2025 was the year of the snake. If you did your work in year of the snake, you shed that skin, you did that inner work, and you're letting that new fresh person emerge, then 2026 is going to be a big year for you because it's the year of the horse. You are going to run wild and free. You're going to be powerful. You're going to have stamina. You're going to be able to carry a load that you never were able to in the past. All right? Much love and peace out.